Right, and welcome to Improved Drawing. Now in this video I want to explain how to draw a very basic three-dimensional cube. Now learning to draw basic shapes and forms three-dimensionally can really help your drawing, as it allows you then to use more basic simple shapes to create more complex drawings as you're drawing these simpler shapes and you join them together to create more complex drawings. Now in this demonstration I'm going to show you how to draw freehand. Now cubes can be drawn either using rulers, set squares and traditional wooden drawing pencils. For this drawing I'm going to start with a freehand drawing using a mechanical pencil here. So I'm going to start, first of all, as you can see here, is the right angled corners, and these are obviously regularly shaped square, flat square to begin. Now probably the simplest method to draw a cube is to basically repeat the shape. So I'm going to now draw using the same exact method. I'm going to repeat that shape behind the initial square that I've drawn in pencil, freehand. The next stage, as you can see here, is to join the corners of the cube, and this gives you a transparent cube, and this is probably the simplest method you can use to draw freehand. Now you will notice when I'm drawing this that I used very faint lines. The second method that you can see here is using a felt tip pen, which is a very immediate way to draw in a felt tip. So you again draw the square shape, and you will notice that the angles or the edges of the cube are drawn at the same angle. It is very important to retain the same angle. If one of the angles is slightly off, the cube will look inaccurate and you will not get the desired effect. It will not look like a regular cube. Right, now for the next video I'm going to show you how to actually draw and shade a cube, a three-dimensional cube. Now in this particular clip I will be drawing using obviously a traditional pencil and a ruler. Now this is a clear plastic ruler which gives you really the added benefit of you can see what's going on in the drawing underneath whilst you're actually drawing. If you use an opaque ruler, sometimes you can't see the drawing underneath, and that sometimes obscures the image when you're drawing, and you can sometimes make mistakes. So this does have an added benefit of you being able to see and measure and compare all of the different angles, the lines in the drawing, and just seeing if they are regular, because these are regular, precise shapes that we're trying to draw three-dimensionally. Just one sort of tip when you're using a plastic ruler, they do tend, I would say, to get a little bit dirty. So underneath the ruler, make sure it's clean, because sometimes you'll end up with marks on the paper, which can sometimes discolour the drawing or make the drawing look a little bit dirty. Now, as with the previous drawing, in this drawing, you do really need to focus on the edges of the cube and the angles at which you draw in the corners. They need to be regular, they need to be at the same angle, or the cube will look inaccurate. So you'll notice here that although three of those edges and those corners which are joined together at the side of the cube are drawn at the same angle. Now you can measure this, or you can basically use a set square to allow you then just to move over and retain that angle as you draw. And you'll notice with this pencil drawing that it has that three-dimensional effect as soon as you begin to join the corners together in the drawing. And the next stage then is to think about adding and applying shadows. Now you can use a straight edge with the drawing here, using a soft pencil to begin the application of tone. And it's important when you're shading to keep the pencil on the paper, small circular motions. But you will notice with this drawing, what I'm not doing is shading in the whole of that plane or the side of the cube dark. Okay, there's a small amount of dark shadow. The rest of that side will be fairly light and it will be blended out to a certain degree, because you don't want to make the shadows too harsh. So it's always a trick really. Don't add too much dark shading to one side. Just blend it and then dramatically blend it out. And you'll notice I'm doing this with the blending stump here, which allows you, or takes away really all the graininess of the paper and gives you that smooth, graduated shadow from light to dark. Now, in this particular type of drawing, you really do need to think about tone and the levels of greyness and darkness that you want within your shadow. And you really do also need to think about the light source, which side is the light coming through. And you'll notice here with this arrow that I've drawn, we're going to draw now and apply a darker area of shading to the near side of the cube. Again, I'm going to start this off with the softer pencil, and using the side of the pencil you can very, very quickly with a straight edge add large areas of tone very quickly with the side of the pencil without going over the edge of your shape, so you retain that sort of clear, crisp edge, which allows you then to keep that sort of cube shape, which is important here. Now it's a case now of blending the shadows, and again blending them from dark to light, from one side to the other, keeping the pencil within the edge of the shape, not going over the edges, and blending and graduating your shadows. And you really do need to be patient here, I would say. Work a little bit slower than I am here. Small circular motions, keeping the pencil on the paper and blending. As soon as you begin to take the pencil off the paper, you will create marks, and that will give you a textured approach. What we're looking for here is continuous blending, and the blending stump will enable you to get rid of the sort of graininess in the shading and allow you to blend it more effectively. So it really is worth investing into these blending stumps if you don't have one, because they will help your drawing and they allow you to have a little bit more control over the shading in the drawing. That sort of gradual change from dark to light and graduating the shadows, as you can see here. So this is a process that you need to focus on, develop and practice. When you get to this sort of stage with a drawing, especially a shaded drawing where you're applying value and tone, you will start to smudge the work. So it's always advisable, I would recommend that you lean on something. This can either be a small cloth or a scrap piece of paper. Okay, now what I'm doing here is basically just applying that sort of shadow, again just to give you the sense that this is three-dimensional. It's actually placed on a tabletop or some sort of surface, and the light source is behind the cube. And again, if that is too harsh, you can use an eraser just to lighten those shadows or make them less harsh and blend them, as you'll notice here, just so you don't get those sort of hard edges on your shadows. If there are areas where you're not quite happy with, you can use the eraser just to blend the side of the shading together, blow it away. And here, you don't have to do this, but if you want to retain the edges, you can draw with the ruler the edges of the shape with a sharp pencil, and that will enable you to have sharper edges, or either you can just apply more shadows. So just working into those shadows, especially the deeper areas of value furthest away from the cube itself here.